From the Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown. From the Cleveland Cavaliers, Donovan Mitchell.
From the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson. Bam! Out of bounds.
Julius Randle.
Tyrese Maxey. From the Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero.
Nope, we ain't doing this again. Where is Trae Young? I don't care if he was selected as an injury replacement, he should have been selected as a reserve from the start. For anyone trying to argue that he isn't deserving of an all-star spot, you're wrong. He's currently averaging 27-11 on 43-37-85 splits, meaning he's 10th in points and 2nd assist in the entire league, and this is arguably his best year. For the crayon eaters trying to argue that the Hawks are the 10th seed, why do the Lakers have 2 all-stars? Oh, he doesn't play defense? Damian Lillard's an all-star starter. The best of the best are supposed to be all-stars. Why is Carl zesty-ass Towns an all-star? On top of that, the league is getting more talented, which is clearly confusing people on the difference between stars and really good players. At this point, if players are going to keep being disrespected like this, we need to question whether or not an all-star spot is even that great an achievement. Let me break it down. As we know, the all-star break happens every year in the middle of the season, and it was originally introduced because there was a college basketball point shaving scandal and the league wanted to regain the public attention, so they thought, why not host an exhibition game featuring the league's best players, drawing inspiration from the MLB. So in March 1951, the first game was held, and it did not disappoint as it tripled the average viewership at the time, with fans fascinated by the amount of talent in one game. I mean, how often you get to see the best players in the league in one night trying their best to show out? These teams were insane. As time goes on, the selection process and requirements have changed. All-star game starters are selected by fans counting for 50% of the votes, NBA players are 25, and media members for the other 25. This was originally implemented to fix past issues, but now it's causing more problems than ever. On screen are the voting results from this year's All-Star starters. Do y'all see these numbers? Are the fans overrating Trae Young, or are NBA players in the media just hating? Trae Young is loved by the fans and they know what they want, but according to the pros, he's only the 6th best guard in the East. This man got one singular vote to be an All-Star starter. I ain't trying to argue for Trae to be a starter because I think Brunson deserves the spot, but a perfect example of fans winning is Dame being an All-Star starter this year. Dame got carried by fan voting even though everyone else disagreed. Let's be real, this isn't Dame's greatest season and Brunson is hooping out of his mind carrying the Knicks. They just ended January 12-2, which is the greatest singular month for the Knicks in franchise history. He's winning games without Orlando and is averaging 27-4-6 on 48-42-84 splits. Dame is deserving of an all-star spot, but taking the starter spot is just ridiculous. In Trae Young's instance, it's the opposite. He's hated by the players and coaches across the league strictly because of his style of play. The reserves are chosen by head coaches as they each vote for the players they believe deserve a roster spot in their respective conference. Coaches around the league have come together and believe that Trae Young is the problem for the Hawks. I mean, look at how they felt when Lloyd Pierce was fired a couple seasons ago. Pacers coach Rick Carlisle said this: "I heard about the dismissal of Lloyd Pierce in Atlanta. This is a shocking development to all of us in the coaching world. Greg Popovich, a sad day to have somebody lose a job like that. He's the type of guy you can build a culture around." It isn't normal for coaches to feel this passionate about a firing, but for some reason this seemed personal. At this rate, if everyone wants to get their feelings involved, instead of valuing his level of play for what it is, he ain't got a shot at making the All-Star game. Gilbert Arenas said it the best.
Now they throw in this curveball, which means you were 2nd in fan vote, which normally for the past 50-something years, that's an all-star, right? Boom, you made it. But they have a new thing in play where, players and media gets 50% of the votes. So now he has to deal with the people who actually don't like him.
Yep. He's right. He has to change his character if he ever wants to become an all-star instead of playing that villain role. And if he wants to keep playing that villain role, he's gonna take his play to a whole nother level if he wants to be treated evenly, because players in the league already think he's overrated by the fans. The Athletic took a vote amongst players as to who they thought was the most overrated player in the league, and Trae received the most with 14.8% of the votes. Granted, this is a sample size of 54 players, which means 8 people voted for him. What's even funnier is that one of the voters didn't even vote for a single player, he just said fuck the Grizzlies. What's even worse is this idea that if a team is a 1st or 2nd seed, they deserve multiple all-stars. It blows my mind that the Kings didn't have a single all-star when Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox are both playing great basketball. There were people who thought they would both make it, but nope, neither of them got a spot. Sabonis is putting up insane stats and he's currently 5th in the MVP race, and somehow he isn't an all-star. I'm confused as to why Cat was even considered for a reserve spot, besides the fact that Timberwolves were the 1st seed in the West and 2nd in the league. That shouldn't matter. Why does team success matter for a personal achievement? Being an all-star is strictly about the player, not the team. Stop bringing up teams when LaMelo Ball has been an all-star before, and the Hornets have been straight dookie for years, and Trae Young's been an all-star before, while his teams had worse records in 2020 and 2022. The all-star selections are losing their meaning year by year because people who are undeserving the spot keep getting them. It's so funny to me that in 2020 there was a entire amount of injury replacement spots available, and DeMar DeRozan still wasn't an all-star with these stats because they chose Mike Conley over him. The Jazz were playing amazing basketball that year, but they did not deserve 3 all-stars, and DeMar's stats were just better. This was a pity award. Mike Conley definitely deserved a spot in the past, but the selection should be made on the current season, not their name. This is exactly what happened with Damian Lillard this year. Him being an all-star starter in the East is very questionable. I think we all know Jalen Brunson deserved that spot, but because of his name, Dame made it strictly off of fan voting. Don't get me wrong, Dame is still having a good season, but Brunson has been going berserk and has been the leader of his team the whole season. There's been multiple scenarios like this. In 2014, Kobe was selected to be an all-star starter while averaging 14, 4, and 6. Those aren't very impressive stats for an all-star, let alone a starter. But to put the cherry on top, he only played 6 games before the voting stages were complete. He was injured to start the season, and the Lakers were 2-4 during the time he played. He himself asked the fans to vote for the younger players because he knew he didn't deserve a spot. Even though there's so much respect that comes from me being able to play for the fans, I'd much rather see the young guys out there and play in the game. They obviously put in the work to be there that weekend, so I'd much rather see them there and participate. Regardless of his wishes, he was still second in backcourt votes for the West, and he was chosen to be an all-star starter. In 2010, AI was waived by the Grizzlies after a dispute about his role as a bench player. Then he was released by the 76ers months later, who picked him up when he became a free agent. Even with all the problems and the below-average season, fans still voted him into the All-Star game, but he didn't play as he left the NBA indefinitely for personal reasons. As fans, we love our players and we'll support them no matter where they are or how they're playing. But that's part of the problem. For example, during the 2014 season, Dame, Harden, and Chris Paul all were putting up better stats, but were reserves due to fan voting. I mean, damn, we almost got Zaza Pachulia in the All-Star game if it wasn't for Adam Silver making the rule for fan votes to only count for 50%. It isn't just the fans who like to troll, because we got people voting for Pat Bev. Respectfully, it's not us. You take some of the bottom votes that are just there for trolls, it could make a difference in the all-star starting position. But at the end of the day, what matters to most players is the legacy they leave behind. Everyone talks about accomplishments such as rings, MVPs, finals MVPs, DPOYs, but they never mention all-stars. Why is that? It's because it doesn't really matter. It's always that accomplishment that people throw in for the sake of argument. At the end of the day, all it truly matters for is contracts. Players get bonuses based on their accolades, and becoming an all-star could give them more money depending on their contract. However, if you aren't a perennial all-star, aka guys who have at least 5 all-stars to their name, you're less likely to be remembered. If you ask new NBA fans about Jamal Crawford, they'd recognize the name, but wouldn't know how nice he was on the court. Trae Young is just the most recent victim out of many players that have been robbed of being an all-star. How long will players be willing to miss out on achievements because of questionable voters? And with the NBA getting more talented each year, what can they do about the voting system to make sure the true all-stars get the spots they deserve? This is my first NBA video on the channel, so if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Easy.